Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high must leave the court immediately.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Hey everyone, Rule 42 producer Tom Smith here. Today we have an amazing guest. Audrey and Jen will be joined by a triple, make that quadruple threat. Star of Broadway stages, television screens, and film screen. She's also a producer. We have the incredibly talented Gizel Jimenez on the show today.
Yes, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Oh my gosh, and I want to know more about you.
Yay!
No, I am such a, my kids are Broadway babies. I love Broadway. I've seen Wicked 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
I've seen Hamilton 6.
What? Oh my gosh. The level of commitment always just surprises me. I mean, the amount of people that came to Wicked and repeatedly surprised me as well. I was just like, wow. It's like, do people just save money and just put it aside for these events, or do they just got it like that?
So before, when I first started going to Broadway, I started going so frequently because I started going through this program called Broadway for Broke People.
Mm-hmm.
And it's same day tickets. You get up to 2 and it's $35.
Wow.
So I would do these lotteries and I would get to take one kid at a time. And that's
smart.
Oh,
That's a great shout out. I didn't even know that existed.
yeah. I mean, you have to be able to go that same day, but for $35 to see a Broadway show, I'm in.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it.
So worth it.
So we're super excited because we also know that you are you're originally from Miami.
Yes.
I now
I
reside
am.
there.
305. I have my phone number because I don't want to let it go.
Oh my God. So when I got a Florida number, the guy was like, so we're all out of 305. I'm like, what's the point of getting one then?
Yeah. I
get it.
blame Pitbull.
Oh, definitely, Mr. 305.
Himself for taking all the numbers. They're all gone now.
Exactly.
That's amazing. What is your favorite thing to do? So I did the Kiki's because it was another friend of mine that recommended Kiki's on the river. What do you get into in Miami? Do you still go there?
Yeah, I go there and I've been there these past couple summers actually for work, and then I've also been there for family. But my dad moved up north, Port St. Lucie area, because he's retired now. The only people that are left are my siblings, my 2 siblings in Miami, but everyone else has pretty much left Miami. I mean, here's the thing. Miami is not the same. It's just not how it used to be. It is different, and also to a point where it's unrecognizable.
That's what I keep hearing.
I don't recognize it. I mean, one of my favorite parts about Miami was the culture and the amount of restaurants that were run by these grandmas who were just cooking, from their soul, Latino food, and charging $3.50, for a whole full meal. And just, going back, it's just everything, all the prices have shot up.
Oh, yeah.
Inflation is ridiculous. At one point, I was at South Beach and someone tried to tax me for a bottle of water. It was something, and I was like, "That's illegal." I was like, "Are you serious?" I was just and it's not that I'm a frugal person by any means. It's just to witness the culture that I grew up in and how things were, to then come back after basically a decade of doing work in New York and around the United States, to then be like, what is this place? A lot of people from Atlanta, I heard, had moved there. I mean, I didn't see not one Cuban on South Beach. it was just full of like a lot of Haitian, like a large Haitian population has immigrated into that area. And it's very like full of life, but also it's not necessarily a place where it's like family appropriate anymore. Like you got to go north of
Yes.
South Beach, like stay along like the water, but just go north to like 100 and something street. It'll be quiet, no nudity, so your kids are gonna be comfortable.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids just being like traumatized by seeing something that they weren't ready to see.
They're not prepared for.
Yeah.
I actually witnessed that. I was like, oh, no, Joe, we're going to walk this way. Thanks.
Nah, they're pretty free out there.
A little bit. So I moved down there for my daughter. She's an all-star cheerleader, and she decided that she wanted to go to Top Gun. And she made a very good team there. She's super excited, and she's like thriving.
Congrats.
Thank you. She loves it. But in that move, like, I got happy because we had moved before that to Wilton, and it's a very white community, which is not a problem, but we are Hispanic, and I did cry the first couple of weeks being up here because I was a little overwhelmed by not seeing any of my people. So when I went down there, we live in Palmetto Bay. To hear so many people speaking in Spanish, which I'm not even fluent in, but it felt so much more like home for me. That I was like, wow, yes, this is what this feels like. This is amazing. And I loved it. I am definitely, I get depressed when I have to come up here now because it's so cool.
Oh, that is definitely one perk. I feel that every time I'm in Florida, I end up speaking so much more Spanish, and I end up having, or not having, but getting my accent back. Like my, like, what are you talking about? Like what? Like my Miami girl comes out. Only like when I'm by the water and the sun is shining and it's humid as heck. No, but it's so true. It's like being in. Well, I moved to New Jersey during the pandemic. I was in New York for like about a decade or so, and there's not really a Latino community where I find myself hanging out with friends and just talking in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing here.
I think it depends on where you're hanging out, because I come from a Hispanic household, and a lot of the people and friends who I hang out with speak Spanish, and we hang out. But I think it's really about where you're hanging out, because there are only white areas.
Yeah, I think I believe I've heard that Union City is like a very large Cuban population. Yeah. But then again, I don't want to go to Union City.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, it's like, where do you want to go? Like, that's one of the reasons why I left the city in general, is because post-pandemic, I realized that I had been desensitized all these years. And I remember when my dad used to visit, he'd like point out every rat he saw in Manhattan. And I'm like, but this is the Upper West Side. Like, you have no idea. This is like nice. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, there's garbage everywhere. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And
you stop seeing it.
You do. But then when I came to New Jersey, it was like a total shock, because just being in the presence of nature and smelling fresh air, it kind of just reminded me like, oh wait, I'm so worth this fresh air and this beautiful area and this quiet town. Like I don't need to be in such a grimy place in order for me to work or be successful. But you live and you learn, right?
Absolutely.
Like I know, like now when I go to the city, it's so loud. It's just
it is.
There's
like so much going on, the cars and everything. It's a lot.
As I enter Penn Station, my shoulders just like go up, and I'm just so tense. Yeah, instantly.
Well, you're on like you're on like, I'm ready. I gotta like walk fast.
Yeah, and you have to put your guard up.
Yeah, watch your bag. Make sure it's tucked in.
Your peripherals have to be ready. Like make sure you're looking around, know your surroundings. There's just so much required. It's such an effort that needs to be put in when you're in a place like that. And I'm just relieved that I don't have to put that hat on as much
Every
as I
day.
used to. Yeah, it's like, wait, oh wow, peace is so nice.
It is.
It
Being out in
is.
nature, being able to walk and like see the trees.
Well, you need
and
that. So
out.
many people are so disconnected. Like
Yeah.
we need that connection to like nature. Like we need to be able to take off our shoes and like run our feet in the grass or the sand or and be connected to the things of the water. Yeah, be connected
It's
to the things around
restorative.
us.
It is. Well, it
Yeah.
connects you back to like the energy.
It
of the
recharges
earth, and
you.
It recharges you and kind of lets everything kind of flow. So
Yeah.
that's important.
How does a Cuban girl from Miami end up on Broadway?
Wow. I mean, I truly believe that everyone has their own journey. And I think that if you are someone who is wanting to be a professional actor, I think that, that is like the biggest mistake is to compare your journey with someone else's. For me, I wanted to get a degree. So I got my bachelor's degree in fine arts. My degree is with University of Florida and New World School of the Arts. So New World School of the Arts is the private conservatory, and then all of my schooling and first 2 years that was through University of Florida. And I absolutely loved the training. And then I graduated college in 2011, and then I moved with my aunt. She lived in New York at the time, and actually no, she lived in Jersey at the time, and I was there for about 3 months and auditioning, and then I finally booked my first professional gig. It was the first national Broadway tour of West Side Story as Rosalia, which was like my first Broadway tour. Instantly became a part of the Actors Union, and I was playing a featured role. So it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And we toured around for a year. This was the second year that the tour had been on, because prior to that I was a senior in college when the first tour had been set off. And we did a year in the United States, a month in Canada, and a month in Japan. We closed we actually opened. We were the first show to perform at the Orbs Theater in Tokyo. And there was this whole beautiful ceremony actually that happened where we had this huge parade, and it was like we were holding these things that were made, these like leaves and sticks. And then when we got to the space, we were in a circle and we had to bless it. And it, like you clap 2 times and then you bow.
Yes,
Wow.
you did it at their temples.
Wow.
And then we could perform. It was like, and that experience, honestly, it was the first time that I learned how vastly different Japan culture is from the United States, in the sense that when they're seeing a show, they're completely quiet. It's their way of showing respect, but they don't laugh. They don't cry. They don't make any noise. They're just shoop. And they save their responses and their admiration and appreciation towards the show at the very end. Like when the show ends, then they clap for like ever.
Oh my God. Wait, so did anyone prepare you for this? Or were you like performing and going, do these people?
Do they like?
Yeah, I was not prepared. Like our first show, I was like, what is happening? Like, why is this happening? And then finally, when they all like clapped and everything, that's when I found out. It's like, oh, well, that's just how they do it. I'm like, oh, okay, but I know that prior, like feeling so terrible. I mean, that's one of the most beautiful parts of live performance, is to have that ball of energy that allows communication between two people, two groups, 2 parties of people. You got your actors and then you have your audience, and then we're basically throwing this ball of energy back and forth, and we receive what you feel and you receive what we feel, and it's beautiful. So that was one part that I wasn't completely a fan about, because then I'm like, well, this doesn't feel like it feels like I'm filming something or I'm in a rehearsal where everybody knows the show and they know all the jokes, so they're not going to really respond or laugh about it. But it was interesting, definitely. I learned a lot.
Reminiscent to when COVID and the basketball players first started playing for a new one. And they're just like, it's just not the same. Like there's no reaction. What did they start doing? They started putting like cardboard cutouts in the stadium.
Yeah, it was so strange, so odd. And
But you know what? We all have like that for them. That's a sign of respect. It has nothing to do with like your ability, or it's just their cultural stuff.
yeah, definitely. And I think that goes without saying that, it's important for us to discuss these different cultures more. So that, because power is knowledge. Like having that knowledge gives you that power. And that was just something that just wasn't shared. And I think that, moving forward, like, I think that the more that we learn about different countries and how they behave, I mean, just the better we can be as far as receiving and giving. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Prepped
absolutely.
you before, maybe give you a little prep before and just been like, okay, this is what's happening. So
Exactly. Like, don't feel terrible. Like,
Like,
they love you. They're just going to be quiet.
well, the whole knowledge is power thing. Like, so let me tell you, I am Puerto Rican, and I am so jealous because Lin-Manuel. What? What? I am obsessed. What? I mean, Vince Vaughn, come on.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So Bad Monkey. I actually filmed Bad Monkey in 2022 and in the spring/summer in Miami, actually. So the show is based off of a novel, actually, that is set in Miami, and it's starring Vince Vaughn, and then Bill Lawrence. He adapted the novel into a screenplay, and he would. Bill was actually traveling to and from our set to complete Ted Lasso, because he was doing ours at the same time.
Oh, wow.
But I think Ted Lasso was ahead of us, and because it had already released. But then the pandemic happened, and that was 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Fight, but also it was a fight, but it also felt like just like a halt completely.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, once the strike was over, we went back to post-production, and I recently did some ADR work, which is, if for people listening, it's basically there's like a monitor in a studio booth, and you're seeing yourself doing a scene, but let's say the mic didn't pick it up, or let's say there's going to be some background music playing and they need your mic to be bumped up a bit. They'll bring the actor to the studio. You kind of just have to watch the clip a couple times and just try to follow your lips and just try to just add volume or whatnot to what you're saying. It's kind of cool, actually. It's like trying to match your own voice. At one point, I was like laughing because I was just telling the producers, I was like, damn, what was I on? I was talking so fast. Like, I was like, and I was like, it's like in the morning for me. I'm like, oh, I gotta like stretch my jaw out. I have to like, where's my coffee? Like, this is, and then they all laughed. They're like, yep, a lot of actors, they realized that they were on a caffeine rush.
Oh my God. I would think it would be like an adrenaline thing. Like, do you ever get like, so you've been in movies and you've been on the stage. Anxiety's got to be in there somewhere.
I mean, everybody has anxiety. If one person tells me that they don't have anxiety, I know they're lying. I know that that's just not true, because that's how we were built. We feel fear. Fear comes from unknowing, and not knowing in turn gives you anxiety. Like, that's just how it is. For me, what I like to do is I like to accept the state that I'm in at the moment. So if I am feeling nerves, I accept that. I acknowledge it, but then I move forward because that's where bravery comes from. Bravery comes from doing things despite your fear towards it. That's what makes people brave. If somebody's like, oh, I wasn't scared to do that, well, then are you brave? Like, that's, so to me, that's like, but I mean, for example, when I worked on Dexter New Blood, a lot of my scenes were with Michael C. Hall. And I remember the first day of shooting, it was a huge scene. It was just with him and I, but a bunch of extras entered the room because right after our scene, we were going to go directly into the extra shot, the wide shot where everyone's at the bar. And we have to pretend like there's music playing. So we have to talk over music, but there is no music playing. It's completely quiet. And there's like 50 people staring.
Oh, that would scare the crap out of me. I'm sorry.
Like, well, all the extras came in. They were just like ready for the show. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, and this was my first time doing a series where I'm like recurring. And I, at one point, I just started feeling the heat rise. I feeling my heart elevate. And then I just took a deep breath and was like, girl, like, you got this. You're fine. Like, Michael C. Hall is a Broadway baby. And I had a chance to talk with him. And I was like, he's such a good person and so kind and welcoming. Like, I'm safe. I'm okay. And yeah, I'm feeling a lot of stuff, but it's just excitement. And that's all right. And if I mess up, I'll do another take. It's not like I'm on a live performance where someone's, I forget my line and I'm just stuck. It's not like that. So, and once it happened, I was like, wow, like, look at me. I did something that was new and I did very well, and I think celebrating your wins and acknowledging, after acknowledging something that makes you nervous or scared, I think acknowledging you achieving that after is so important. It's like, if you're going to go in your head and say nasty things about yourself or put yourself down, like, do yourself a favor and also lift yourself up and also actively work on being like, well, you know what? This didn't happen, but this happened and this happened. And that's awesome. I think that's just so important, especially for mental health in these times where social media is so consuming to people, which to the point where like I find myself sounding like my father, because like I remember when I was younger, I'd be like, the world's changing, Dad, and you have to change with it. And he's like, rah, 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 rah. And now I'm like, rah, 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 like, Instagram, like, I'm just like, okay, if I want to share something, wonderful. And I think that being able to have the communication with people anywhere around the world is a beautiful thing. Do I think that being on it 24/7 is healthy? No. I'm barely on it. And also, if I feel like I have to post something because I'm not posting, I don't post, because I don't want what I share online to become a chore. Yeah. I studied. I have a degree. I'm an educated actress. I've worked nonstop since 2011, and I don't have anything to prove. And I think that a lot of the times with social media, because of everyone else, it's kind of impossible for you to not feel like you have to prove something as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I feel the exact way. Like, I don't post a lot on social media or kind of what I'm doing, because I rather be experiencing it with my family and like doing it and being in the moment, instead of being like, oh, here, look, this is what I'm doing. I'll do it every once in a while, but it's not like I rather be in the moment creating.
A lot of people are so judgmental.
Yeah.
Social media is not the real world.
No.
It's a fake place. It's such a fake place. And I get it. People feel they find safety being online. But to me, it's a screen that shields you.
They don't know how to interact with people anymore.
Yeah.
In person, I have a ton of kids. So I have 7.
Beautiful. That's my lucky number.
It is a great number. I love 7. Mine is 3, but 7's a good one. But the older, like seeing them being around people, like I have social anxiety. I always have. But my kids are coming from a place where they've gotten so comfortable behind their phone that the minute they're in front of other people, they're just like, I don't know what to say. Well, like you can still respond to them. You're not like saying that you're afraid to be around people. You're just saying that you're afraid of like responding to them. But why? Like we're all allowed to have.
The screen is a security blanket. It has become
Your shield.
security blanket. It's a shield of protection.
Yeah.
And so when I was younger, I know I look really young, but I'm actually
You do. You look like a baby. You came on and I was like, where's mommy?
yeah. I say brown don't frown.
Yes. I love it.
But yeah, I forget my track. Who's
I'm on the brown now. So.
Shield.
You talk about
Yeah,
a shield.
shield.
Social media is a shield.
Finding about the shield.
Yeah, and I think that like when I was a kid, I played outside.
Yeah.
And so when I played outside, I interacted with kids my age and I learned about social cues. I learned about what's wrong and what's right and what's acceptable. And you can only learn that as a kid by hanging around other kids and learning it like physically in the real world. They're not practicing that skill.
No.
They're solely using that skill of communication on a computer with the shield in front of them. So when they they find themselves being in the real world, right? And they're all of a sudden talking to someone. If something that is said to them makes them feel uncomfortable, now they don't really know how to compartmentalize it. They don't know how to respond to it. Maybe they'll respond in anger or whatnot. It's just such a tricky situation that, you know, the younger generation, mostly, I think, it's really, really tricky.
They're scared to do a lot. I'm having that issue with my daughter. And I took her to apply for a job. She filled out the application and we haven't heard from them. So I was like, yesterday, I was like, hey, why don't you call and follow up? She's like, I can't do that. What do you mean? You want me to call and follow up? What am I supposed to say? Can't you do it for me? I'm like, no, I can't do it. That's not part of growing up, having your mommy call for your job. Like, you can't, like, I was like, but she was like, I don't know what to do. So I had to write it down on a piece of paper. What she did, hi, I'm calling to follow up on the application I put in. Are you still hiring? And she still couldn't do it. She didn't do it.
Oh, gosh.
I can't, but it's like,
It's like
a lot with them. Like,
they're just so afraid.
Yes.
It's like, wait, you're worried that someone's going to think that you're thirsty? It's like, no, you're applying for a job because you need a job. So why pretend, even after applying, like it's not something that you really need? No.
Your employer wants to know you want to work there.
Yeah.
She was like, who follows up? No one, that's weird.
You want to know who follows up? Those who get the job. How about that? How about that?
Well, because you have to stand out, and that's the problem. They don't think about, okay, well, you're not the only one that's applying. There's hundreds of applications that are going out. If you don't stand out somehow, they're probably taking the pile and going, okay, it's split in half. All right, these are going in the trash. Now let's look through this half. It's a lot having to go through all of that. So you need some way to like stand out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have your voice and your acting ability. That makes you stand out in the world. Now our kids are trying to find their voice.
Yeah.
They're just having a hard time doing it with the social media behind them, telling them that this is the way they need to behave and this is what they need to see. And
I mean, and then the whole TikTok thing, like I even signed on for TikTok when COVID hit. Like I was like, okay, I'll try it. But like I tried it. So like we as humans, we function best with moderation. And that's proven time and time again. If we drink too much water, we can kill ourselves, okay? That is proving we are not built to be doing the same thing over and over again. We have to moderate our time. And I think that is like the biggest thing that is being lost right now with the younger generation. They're not able to learn that.
Yeah.
So because they're doing so much, they're really weakening their other skills immensely.
I agree.
And also the TikTok thing, like, yeah, the world stopped. Like, everybody was pulling at anything possible to like survive and connect. That was understandable. To me, like, after that, it's like, okay, there's enough dancing in front of your phone.
My first concern when I had my 4-year-old was that he was going to think that people wore masks all the time because that's the world that he grew up in.
Oh, wow.
Now I have a 1-year-old. Oh my God. Jen has seen it. I think Tommy, maybe you've seen it. I might have shown you a video. He will take anything that looks like a phone. So anything that's flat. I mean, he'll take this. He will prop it up against something and he will dance in front of it. Like, he does not realize that they're recording themselves or that they're listening to music because he just has a bunch of older siblings that have AirPods and headsets that are dancing in front of phones. So my 1-year-old dances in front of stuff. No clue why he's doing it. He just dances in front of stuff. And he thinks he's filming. He does not realize that they're filming TikToks, but he thinks he is.
He's living his best life.
He is, but this is what we're showing. But this is the point of, okay, enough dancing in front of, like, everywhere you go, this is what you see. So now this has become the norm. My 1-year-old thinks it's normal to dance in front of shit with no music, no nothing, just dance in front of it.
Like, that's how humans behave. Like, that is like part of our society. At 12 p.m. we all get down and boogie. Right.
Just start dancing. I mean, we do though.
What a world.
I will randomly bust out and dance in different places. So
well, yeah, totally.
Every now and then you gotta be.
That's why we need things like I'll go back to Hamilton just because that was a lesson that taught so many people something that they just didn't give a shit about, honestly. Like, our kids just don't care about history anymore. Yeah. But my kids know everything verbatim from that. And that was but it was something that I'm like, yes, this I could be proud of you for. This I can, do you know now what the storyline is? And they're like, holy crap, yes. And that's, okay, you just learned something from experiencing something that someone figured out a way to get you to be interested in.
Exactly.
And that we need more of that. Can we lean more towards that?
Yes.
That's why I love, like, being able to, like, say that my kids are Broadway babies because, yeah, they do the, like, norm, like, stuff that, like, the typical teenagers do. But you also have those road trips that involve the entire freaking Matilda soundtrack or the Wicked soundtrack or and I have the videos and those memories that we built, and that's all they were car rides and experiences that we lived in those moments with, and they learned something from, as opposed to now my daughter's trying to get me to learn this, like, dance, I don't know, WAP or something. I don't know. I think I like the other stuff better.
Stuff is better. It's so nice to just spend that time with them, just being in the music.
No, yeah, it's true.
Together.
And I totally hear you about the learning part. I mean, this is something else that I think is so important, and, you know, parents need to really be careful with, but also need to talk to their kids about, is just, like, researching information. Like, when I went to school and we wrote papers, they talked about writing down your sources. You list your sources and all that stuff. Like,
and
are
the
they not
internet could only be one of your sources. The internet
Yeah.
could be one source.
Yeah.
have to go to the library,
Yes.
get your book, and then write down the stuff from it.
No.
Or
And let me tell
like,
you,
encyclopedias. Those were big when we were young.
that's all I did. Whenever I needed to learn something in elementary school and middle school, especially, I would go to the library
Yeah.
and I'd just take out a couple of books and I'd read them. And that was that.
They probably
Yeah.
didn't know what the Dewey Decimal System is.
They
Now.
don't.
They'd be like, what?
Clue. No clue. If we ever want to trap them in an escape room, all we have to do is give them a rotary phone, a Dewey Decimal System.
And write it in cursive. Because they can't do that either. Yeah.
We'll have to rescue them.
Right. They stopped teaching that in school. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, my kids didn't know how to sign their name. We started doing cursive on our own when they were younger because, dude, I feel like that's something that you should know. You should be able to write in script, or at least your name in script. That's how you signature. Because my son would just write his name, like just regular letters, and he'd be like, signature done.
Wow. That's insane.
Gizel, I feel like we've known each other long enough, and you haven't mentioned Harry in the honor.
Let me tell you that there was one moment where Jen moved and I was like, what the heck is that? And I was like, there's just this weird guy just staring from the camera.
Yeah, it's Harry Styles. So my daughter
I wanted you to say something about it so bad.
I almost did.
yeah, so my daughter's a big Harry Styles fan, and for her birthday this summer, my sister sent a giant cardboard cutout of Harry. So he's been floating around my house. He was in the living room for the longest time, but people, when they'd come in at night, would get scared at this like guy standing there. And she refuses to put him in her room because she's scared of like him waking up and him staring at her. So now he's just kind of like moved there. He's been in my kitchen. He's moved all around my house. But people are used to seeing weird stuff when they come to my house because I have like a 12-foot gorilla and like all these animals. So it's just like a weird zoo place with just randomness all over the place.
Jen, I can relate to you because I bought a skeleton for Halloween and I called him Stanley. And Stanley has been floating around our apartment as well.
Oh no.
I just kind of decorate him in this. He doesn't wear clothes, but he does wear hats. So in the wintertime, it's a Santa hat. It's Easter. I put bunny ears on his head. But yeah, Stanley is part of the family now.
Yeah, they just kind of like work their way into your family. I totally get it. I mean, I had a life-size lion painted pink, and he used to be right by my back door. But people used to get too scared when they come around the corner to my back door. He was like, hey. So now he's in my front yard. But it's interesting to see when people drive by that sometimes they slam on their brakes and you see them reverse back, and they're like, "Did I see a rhinoceros?" Like,
Tommy actually went up to go set up her mics and stuff, and he goes, "Why wouldn't you lead with the big gold gorilla in my front yard?"
That's a fair point. It's a landmark.
yeah, I mean, he's huge. He's like 12 feet tall. He's a big gorilla just hanging out. And
I feel like I would love your home.
yeah, it's a fun place. We're getting there. We're making it.
I need to know. We knew what you were working on before COVID. What are you working on now?
Well, I can't really. Oh no. Well, I can't mention one of the things. Oh God, there's a couple things I can't mention, because of NDAs.
Okay.
But recorded something new that when it may or may not come out, but it's a development. Choosing my words.
It's so horrible.
I love how you're just really like skirting around that. Yeah. I want to tell you something, but
Let's see.
all right. How about what is your dream role and what would you like to play next?
Okay, so I have a lot of dreams.
Yes.
And they're all
Good
big.
thing. Dreams are good.
I will say that there is something wonderful to expect in 2025. And it's a goal that I have had since I achieved my goal of being on Broadway. So it's a second goal that I set up for myself that I finally was able to accomplish. I haven't told you anything yet, Tom, but yeah, I can't say anything yet either. I know. Look, think how I must feel.
Well, as you're talking, I'm going, I wonder if she's done an interview where she put, like, she told her goals and we can go find out what her second goal was.
You probably could. We're getting Yeah, no, but this most recent news, it's about a year in advance of knowing that it's happening, and so it's like, okay, cool. So I just gotta worry about this year.
Yay! Oh.
And what I'm doing. But yeah, this is not something that is open to the public. I only work with select students that are serious about their craft, but I do coach privately.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I have flyers and stuff, but if a student is very serious, we can have a consultation or a discussion. They could email me at Gizel J, so GIZELJ .coachme at iCloud.com.
Oh,
so that if people are interested in that, and then I teach acting through music, vocal technique. So people that just really want to learn about the technical aspects of singing and where their placement in their voices are. I do speech coaching, so helping with pronunciation, dialect. I also work as a line coach, so people who need someone to just go over something over and over again to like memorize, I'll just sit with them and run it until they have it. And then I also teach regular acting and then acting for the camera. I do in studio. It's really only like a select few people that I trust because this is my home.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to
No.
know.
Yeah, I understand.
But then I also coach via Zoom.
That is amazing. Did I
Yeah,
totally get the home stuff? Then
Yeah.
I started coaching like hardcore during the pandemic, and I realized how much I loved it, mostly because I realized that there are a lot of teachers out there teaching without the ability to achieve learning, if that makes sense. So like a teacher will set up a class and basically they'll just let the kids sing or let the students sing and kind of just like let time waste.
They're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
These teachers are not giving them all their tools that they need. Maybe, I don't know if that's a business move. Like, if I don't tell them everything, then they'll come back and they'll need me always.
Have a repeat customer for. I'm like,
To me, I'm like, hello, learning, you have to grow when you learn. And like, I do not want to have the same student forever. Like, I want my student to flourish and move on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to grow. Like, you know, so yeah, it's been a really wonderful experience, and it breaks my heart knowing how many. I mean, like this one student of mine, she's coming in a couple hours. I'll be brief about it, but she came to me because she said that, like, you know, she's paying for college and doing theater, and she's been just like looked over, like no one's worked with her. Because she's not like a natural star, or she's not like an extrovert or whatever. She's more internal and shy. But to me, it's like, hello, you're in college. You're a professor. You're supposed to be teaching this girl how to come out of her shell. You should be going to all the students who are not aware of their talents or who don't yet know how to access their talents and teach them. Like, you should not be focused on students who already have the ability. Like, and that is a huge thing. I heard people from, I'm not going to say the school's names, But there are a lot of schools who are very popular in theater, and that a lot of people pay like $60,000 and up a semester for, and these people are ignoring the ones who are shy. Like they're just taking their money and not making them
want
better.
the credit for the people that
Yeah.
have the talent naturally.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to work for it.
Exactly. So my student, the one that I'm talking about, she was in chorus all the time, always ensemble roles. And I started working with her, and she got her first callback for a lead role. And now she has her second callback for a lead role, and we're gonna work on the material and culture for the. But it's like, I saw her, I heard her once, and I go, okay, you need training. You don't really know your voice yet. And I was like, but you have talent. You just haven't unlocked it yet. And we're still working to this day because there's so many things involved when it comes to performing. You know, your body has to be completely connected. And, you know, and in only a short amount of time, I'm able to get this girl from doing chorus role, ensemble roles to being called back for a lead part.
That is amazing.
And that only took me a couple months. And she's not paying me tuition for college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
so to me,
amazing.
I'm just like, okay, well, maybe it's because I am an actress. I understand how to have that conversation. I know the words that are required to activate what I need. Maybe that's why. But it really just excited me, like to be able to see somebody say that they can't do something, and then to later on to see them being like, oh my God, I can.
You know,
It is such a great feeling when you do that, to just help others. It's amazing.
Especially when they're young and like, you know, being like 18, 19, like that's still tough. Like there's so much insecurity. There's so much judgment. Like a guy doesn't like you or a girl doesn't like you, or it's like, there's just so much drama. So it's like when
at 18, you're still a baby.
You
are
a baby. Yeah.
and you still need somebody to lift you up and to remind you that you are enough and that you can do it. And I don't know what these professors are doing, but they're clearly not thinking about mental health. And
So you know how like you were talking about getting desensitized to what was around you in like New York? It's the same thing. They get desensitized to like the students and what their needs are as individuals, because unfortunately everything is run based off of monetary gain. And what's going to bring you more money? The people that they don't have to work so hard to get those lead roles. So those are the ones that they're going to focus on, because unfortunately that's what will bring them money, and they no longer see anybody else. Everybody becomes a number. They
need their numbers too. A lot of teachers need like a certain amount of numbers, and that's like
I think as a teacher though, I think that it's within the title. You know, I think that for them to own that would be a cop out. You know, that's kind of like saying like, you know, oh, I work so hard as a cop. I'm just like, you know, I don't know. I won't go there actually. I was like, yeah, no, let's not go there.
No, I think that people just need to like regularly kind of be moved. Maybe like change the dynamic of what you're teaching. Like, okay, so you have been working with the vocal department for X, Y, Z amount of time. Now let's see what you would do with these new teachers that are coming in. Like, what would you bring, or what would they bring? Collaborating, because times do change. And we as a people have to grow and change together. So unfortunately, like, it might be something where like some people are just in something too long and they're stuck in a rut, and
That.
yes.
And let me tell you, the majority of professors out there teaching have never worked professionally. So it's like,
you teach.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, it's like there's also that additional issue, because it's like if you've never worked professionally, or the last time you worked was 30 years ago, how
Are you teaching them to be in the industry?
Exactly. How are you able to prepare them for the current, what's happening now, today in this industry?
But you can't without bringing that new cycle in and collaborating. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to work together.
Master classes, workshops, they should
Yes.
Yeah.
bring
Teachers have to do it. Lawyers have to do it. You're caught.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
There's a huge problem with education, especially in the arts. And Gizel is also a producer, and she has a really cool project about youth theater that she's taking around. But we won't get into that.
Wow, that's amazing.
You're being coy, Tom.
A little bit.
Oh, look
But no,
at you.
Gizel's very passionate. She's very passionate about this and about helping kids. I know it firsthand, and she does incredible work that I can, attest to. She's awesome.
Well, it's funny because my
Amazing.
daughter is very like the one that's a cheerleader. She's just not. She's very different. She actually wanted to get into not theater. She wanted to get into voice acting until she found out that she started doing more research into it, and she found out that the easiest way for her was to go into stage stuff at school and to be in the theater there. And she was so afraid of actually performing in front of people that she gave up. She didn't even try.
But voice acting is, you don't have to be in front of anyone. It's completely in like a dark little booth. She's literally in her little tiny shell, and she just, does it that way. She doesn't need to be in front of anyone if that's something that she's.
But and it is, but because she didn't know what path to take, she just kind of was like, maybe that's just not the route for me. And I don't know, because that's not my field.
Well, I will say that voice acting within itself is a whole nother ballgame. Like, they have their people, and it's like these really tight cliques, and they're not necessarily as open to receiving new talent to enter into their world. So I will say that it's difficult, but I don't think that it's impossible. And there's so many non-union companies, nonprofit companies that work with voice acting. There's also dubbing available. You could do dubbing. You can dub any foreign film in the country. But again, in the studio. I mean, your daughter could literally do dubbing and use your mic at home. And
that is so cool. I have to tell her about this.
Yeah, my niece actually does some like voice acting, and she's been doing that for a little while now. She likes it.
It's all about. I think it's all about, honestly, like, to see everyone succeed, which I think is so important because there's enough to go around. I think that, like, we just have to share these kinds of stuff with each other. Oh, I know this person. Oh, I know this person. Oh, this person does this. Because I feel like the more, again, going back to knowledge, like, the more that we know, the more we can get done, the more we can achieve. Yeah. But if we don't know something, that it's just so much more difficult to move forward.
I think that has a lot to do with the culture, though. The Hispanic community is so tight-knit. Within, like, family is so important.
Yeah.
But we see beyond just like the family in the home, the family that builds the neighborhood, the family that, like, I am a firm believer that it takes a village.
It does.
There's no way I would be able to be the mom that I am to my kids and do the things that I do if I didn't have such a tight-knit group around me.
Yes.
And that they are the reason that I've been able. And it's all about being able to say, hey, you know what? Like, let's help each other here. Like, okay, so you're good here. I'm good here. Let's, like, work together and figure this out. Like, I love it. Yeah. It's all about building each other.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation yesterday.
Yeah. Lifting each other up. Yeah, because it takes a team. It takes a village, she said. It takes a village to raise kids. And just even for yourself and your own mental sanity.
Amen to that.
You need your people to have your back.
Yes. Amen.
Hello, therapy session.
I know, right? I know you get a little therapy session every now and then. Sorry, I
love
know. I'm a movement person, so like
And I
Don't apologize.
I'm on a
Women apologize too much. I'm so
too.
sorry.
Oh
I
my
do.
God. Okay. So I had this conversation with Jen yesterday, and see, she's still apologizing. So I blew up at my daughter one day. I think I was driving her to practice. I might have been flying for 3 days in a row. I don't know. And she told me my music was too loud in the car. And I just started crying. And I'm like, I can't do this. I just wanted to listen to some music. And she's just looking at me. And I just fell apart. I was just like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I just can't. And it was just everything else. It was just like the constant travel. I go between Connecticut and Florida a lot. I have kids that are cheering in 2 different states. So they have competitions into, like, this weekend is Providence, next weekend is Dallas, Texas. So it's a lot. And it just every now and then it hits you. And they're so used to like strong mom and like, oh, you get through this and you can handle it. What do you mean you can't handle it? No, you can't handle everything. So we were talking yesterday, and I guess she had that moment with her daughter where she blew up on her, and then she was crying. And I go, but that's the problem. They don't see us fall apart. We're so busy trying to be so strong that we forgot to let them know. No argument. You handle everything. You know,
And also vulnerability is strength. I think our generation our parents' generation taught us that crying is weakness. But that's like such a huge misconception. The fact that you cried means, Audrey, that you are a strong woman who needed to release in order to move forward in her day.
Yeah.
Because she was overfilled. Because you're human. Like that's what I'm saying. It's going back to like how we function as people. It's like, it's okay if you need to cry, or if you're crying, that is your body producing something naturally in a response to whatever you're going through. If you then reprimand your body for going through a process that is completely natural, how is your mental health gonna then survive?
You're going to blow up. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Pushing it down, and then you're going to blow up. And
because you're constantly bottling it.
So you crying is beautiful. It's gorgeous because
You also showed her.
that you're a human.
Yes. And
That is
like
rare.
handle everything, and that there is a lot, and that sometimes, you know what, you need to help. And she's been helping a lot more. And I'm like,
I love that.
yeah, me too. I was like, hey, I'm going to cry more.
But that's another thing. We forget how much kids can actually handle based off our own insecurities and fears. And I think that like her being able to see you in your truest form, look how she was able to, respond to that in such a mature way that like at first thought of it, you'd be like, no. Like, I'm not going to worry my daughter or my son or
I
whatever.
don't want to stress her out about anything. Like, what I'm going through is what I'm going through. Yeah.
But it's like such a wrong, like, perception to have. Because, as you said, we need our family. Like, that's... So it's like, share your insecurities and share your sadness and share the things that make you upset. Because your kids are going to learn more about you as a person. And they're also going to learn more about themselves. Yeah. And they're going to find gratitude and grace. Yeah. And I think that's such an important thing for the young generation to practice.
I just had that conversation with my daughter this morning because after I blew up on her yesterday and I was crying, I was like, this morning, I was like, you know what? You don't know me. You don't know me as a person. You know mom. But I was like, you don't know what I've been through or what I'm taught, like what I've been going through. So I was like, just because you hear little bits and pieces and you see bits and pieces, I'm like, you don't know me. And she was just looking at me like, what? I'm like, what? And I was like, no, you don't know me as a person. You don't know my whole story. You just know mom. And what not, like, and it's hard for them to differentiate like that you are an actual person with a life and before them. Like,
I did that to my dad too. I was like, I was like, oh, Dad, like, tell me about yourself. And he still doesn't feel comfortable doing it. He's like, he was born in Cuba. So like, he's really like old school. And he's just like, I don't understand. Like, he gets all angry. He's like, well, why do I have to tell you anything? Like, and I'm like, you have to understand that you've only been a dad my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to go before learning who you are, what your interests are, how you really act.
What is your story?
Yeah. And I mean, only now is he like kind of loosening up and sharing things. But I realized that it's hard for him to share because he has never done it, because he holds everything in. And like, therapy is so important. If we all had therapy, there'd be zero issues.
Yes.
But, he's over here like, he can't talk about it because there's too much and he's too full and he doesn't want to cry because he has too much ego to cry. And so it's like, then there's just no way of speaking to this person.
Very much,
There's just walls and walls and walls. But,
but that's how they were raised.
Yeah.
That's what they were told.
So I feel like we have to actively remind ourselves not to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, we have to remember, oh shit, like time is changing again, or changing more for the better. Like, I have to remember that this thing that my mom told me, don't ever do that. Or don't ever act like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can choose the stuff that I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep that, I'm gonna leave that.
We're gonna compartmentalize these things.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm like, I know that you have a day ahead of you, and I know that we started late. I'm so sorry.
All good, please. It was such a pleasure and a joy to speak to you guys, and
I can't really see what's going on in 2025.
I know. We'll be sitting on the edge of our seats right now. Like, we're ready. We might be Googling you before, though.
We have to see what your second goal was.
I'm sure I'll text Tom and he'll text you guys and let you know. It's just something that I just don't want to share publicly yet, or I can't.
Yeah. Those dang NDAs.
I know. Dang NDAs.
Thank you so much for letting us into your world and kind of like letting us find out a little more about you, because it was really interesting and I loved hearing it.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you for being open and sharing your personal stuff, everyone. Like, it just feels really nice. I feel like I'm in this nice, warm community just with open people. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to experience.
It's out there. We are out there. There is a world of people that are totally here to support each other and build each other up. You just have to find each other.
Exactly.
We're trying to get from behind our screens and back into the real world somehow.
Right? Exactly.
So thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you. I had a lovely time.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Rule 42 is hosted by Audrey Cruz and Jen Burke. It is produced and edited by Tom Smith. The opening song is Rule 42 by Eddie Carr. Rule 42's artwork was created by Aubrey Cruz. And I'm your announcer, Molly Smith. Thank you for listening to Rule 42. We hope you enjoyed the show. New episodes premiere every Thursday on all podcast platforms. Please subscribe, share the show, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple. Today's rule is rule number 4. Bravery comes from doing things despite your fear.